Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord released 2 months ago in October 2022, after being in early access since 2020. One might expect that after such a development time, major exploits would have been fixed, right? Well, let's find out how much money a simple son of a smith can make in Bannerlord. Of course I turn him into a Botanian because let's face it, Botanians are the best. Plus he also needs to be the hardest of them all. In order for this to work, we need to give him the best smithing skills. And if we can't pick smithing skills, we need to trading ones to make more money out of it. I picked a family of smiths. As a child noted for the aptitude in numbers. In my adolescence, I worked in the village smithy. In my youth, I rode with the scouts, just for that little bit of horse riding skill. As a young adult, I invested money in some land. And as a story background, my brother survived because I organized travelers to break out for just a bit of leadership skill. This gave me a total of 3 smithing skill and 2 trading skill. Go forth, Smithy McSmithingson, and make me copious amounts of money. After loading in, I picked a fitting family name and the one banner sigil that somewhat resembled a hammer, and started my journey to the land of the Botanians. We were not taking any recruits for this because they would only slow us down. After just a few days of dodging bandits, we entered the domain of the Botanians, and the reason for picking this place becomes clear. Both iron and wood are being produced in the nearby villages, and those are practically the only resources we're gonna need for smithing. We travel to Seonen, and obviously the first thing I do is buy our friend Smithy a blacksmithing hammer. Then I bought some hardwood and iron ore and went to the smithy. To forge anything you need charcoal, which is refined from the hardwood. So I refined some of those and used the coal to smelt some iron ore. Bannerlord makes use of smithing fatigue, so before I could forge my first sword, I had to rest for a day. The next day I did it, I forged my first sword. I sold it for a handful of coins and was out of iron already, so I went back to Manarath to buy some more from the village and the city. In Manarath, I also bought some cheap tools that I would smelt down into raw materials. I sold some of the hardwood because it was in insane demand, so it made me a good coin. For that little profit, I bought myself a horse to carry back the iron to Seonen. Back at Seonen, I figured out that I already leveled up and picked the efficient charcoal maker perk. Turning 2 wood into 3 charcoal instead of a 1-to-1 ratio was gonna save a lot of time in the future. This also gave me the possibility to turn wood into charcoal and sell that for a little profit. A good way to make a little bit of money in a pinch if I really needed it. I went back to the smithy and smelted the tools I bought in Manarath, and after that I made a second sword. Which still wasn't worth a lot of money, but at this moment we were mainly doing it for the smithing skill. I crafted some more swords and noticed the orders tab, a feature that I have never seen yet, and crafted the spear for the order. Although not much, it was certainly profitable. A little bit of buying resources, refining them and forging swords later, I leveled up smithing and picked the skill that increases the discovery rate of new weapon parts. The next day I changed plans. I found out that when you smelt back your weapons you get almost all of your resources back, and leveled up smithing pretty fast. So that's what I started doing. Forge a sword, then smelt it, rinse and repeat. I once again checked the orders and there was this crazy 3k weapon in there. I forged it. Didn't make 3k, but still made a whopping 1k. That was really a good one. A little while later, I found out that the 2-handed swords make a lot more money than the 1-handed ones. So I started making those. After making a few more cheap 2-handers, we were out of iron again. So I headed back to Manarath to get some ore and crafted some weapons on the spot before going back to Seonen. I unlocked some new weapon parts for the 2-handed sword, and they were now worth around 600 gold. Slowly but surely the price was going up, which was great. I was now finally starting to make a profit. After a few more of those, I unlocked a new handguard, which made the swords worth 800 gold apiece. Business was going up from now. With the swords I was able to craft being so profitable, I was able to buy a lot of wood, steel and basic tools and weapons to smelt into raw resources and turn into more expensive swords. From time to time I unlocked a new piece, put it onto an existing sword to see if it's worth more or not, and sometimes I used it, sometimes I didn't. And some of the swords were looking a bit more silly than others. After I unlocked yet another blade for the 2-handed sword, this made them worth 1.3k each. I tried a lot of different handles, but the cheap fur one still seemed to be the best. I kept grinding these swords for a while until I got to level 75, which made me unlock the Curious Smith perk. This made learning new crafting parts even faster. After just crafting a few more swords, I discovered how to make my first tier 2 blade. And this was made out of a new resource, steel. The swords I was able to make from this were now worth 1800 Denars per piece. Stonks. I'd been smithing like crazy, so I was out of wood again. I went to the nearby village to get some more, but unfortunately I got caught by bandits. Luckily, I had saved enough money to just buy myself out of the problem. I quickly got back to Seonin and back to the grind. One sword later, something amazing happened. I unlocked a new curved blade and a weird looking handguard, and this sword was worth a whopping 3.7k. This was now really getting out of hand. With the ability to craft this sword, I could basically just walk into any town, buy some rakes and scythes, and reforge those into legendary swords and sell them back for a huge profit to the poor guy. I just continued making these, smelting them, and sometimes selling one to cover the expense until I was level 100 in smithing. I took the experienced smith perk, which adds a chance to make fine weapons that are basically better versions of the same weapon, thus worth more. I checked on my new weapon parts, which I stopped taking notice of for a while because they were unlocking so fast. And I found out that I unlocked the Iron Flissa blade type. Making swords with this blade type made them worth freaking 5k. This basically meant I was done for the rest of the game. I could walk in any town, make a profit, and probably use the smithing money to fund a big enough army to win the game with. By the way, if you want to see me try that, let me know in the comments down below. I might make a video out of it if people want to see it. I just kept grinding on for about 20 minutes and turned my 8k into 65k. So yeah, although not as fast as in the early access release of Bannerlord, it is still possible to obtain a copious amount of money with exclusively smithing. You don't even have to travel far, I just traveled between 2 cities. You can do it anywhere on the map, just make sure there's iron and wood producing villages close to you. This seems like a great way to kickstart your Mount and Blade campaign. You'll just keep getting better at smithing and the weapons you'll make will keep getting worth more. This whole process took me about 2 hours in real life, but I think it can even be done faster. Please like the video and don't forget to subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more adventures from Smithy McSmithingson. See you guys next time!